I want to tell you my secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull no punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody.
Hey everyone.
How's everybody doing tonight? Brandy, can you hear me?
It looks like everybody's doing good for us. I just want to say in advance, I apologize because everything is going crazy. We're having technical difficulties on everybody's side. The weather has just really pulled a number. So we're trying.
Absolutely it has. So between we've got this winter storm going on. I think Jeremiah's getting it. Brandy and I are, and Darrell's getting the rain part of it. So I apologize to everybody for the freezing up and the reception that we're all getting tonight. So, and Brandy is froze.
Yeah. So instead of just canceling the show. Instead of just canceling the show, we're like, just go. Just what if it happens, it happens. It's it's the gremlins. We'll just call it that. That's good.
I tell everybody hello tonight. Gary, Jennifer, Crystal, Jean, Simi, Chiro, Midwest Night Watchers, T. Willis, Jennifer Mangrum, AJ, Merry Christmas to you too. And kind of go down here. I want to thank everybody for being here. So we're going to just kind of jump right into this just because of service. And if it comes down to it, Jeremiah and I have already talked. I will call him on his phone and then just put him on speakerphone, and you guys should be able to hear him that way if need be. So hopefully we have him here where everybody can see him instead of me having to call him. So anyway, Brandy.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep on trying.
Brandy, you are totally froze up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. So you have Brandy and myself, and then we have Jeremiah Fountain, and we have co-host Darrell Denton. So tonight we're going to talk everything from, and Brandy just went bye-bye. So we're going to talk everything from Bigfoot to paranormal. Does that work for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the Bigfoot, or you want to start with the paranormal?
We can start with the cryptid if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever you want to start from. Well, okay. I do have one question.
Yeah.
So I also read that you were an MMA fighter.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Awesome. For, how long ago did you do that?
Yep. Oh God, I actually came out of retirement at 38 and took a fight. Just to call it a male alpha male thing. I wanted to prove to myself that I could still do it. And
Oh, wow.
I had a friend that was a promoter, and he offered me a fight, and I took it. And I fought a 21-year-old Golden Glove boxer, and didn't I win the fight and won my belt back, and I retired the belt, and that was it. Since then, I'm
Awesome.
43 now. That was 5 years ago. But I still roll around, and get in the gym, and
Well, that's cool.
I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You're
love-
braver than I am, because
love it
I
all.
don't know about just going and fighting all the time.
I can't hear him.
I hear music.
I do too.
Oh, I think that was Darrell. He just muted
Yeah.
himself.
Me too.
So anyway, I guess it's you and I, Jeremiah. So we'll just get on and let's start talking some Bigfoot.
Okay.
So where did
All right,
your
let's do it.
where did
I
your
grew up in a
adventure-
small Adirondack town.
right?
My adventure started when I was about 7 years old. My mother bought me a book, Unexplained Mysteries of the 21st Century. And I was about 7 at the time. And I started flipping through the book, and I came across a pretty woman named Patty. And ever since that first time I saw her picture, I was infatuated, just infatuated. And I was always a weird little kid, into UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, all that type, ghosts, you name it, I was into it. I also have some Native American descent in me as well, some Mohawk, and my gram was full-blooded, so I used to, that was a big part in it as well. I didn't get into the property we live on now is inhabited by about 6 to 8 Sasquatch.
wow.
I didn't always growing up, when I'd hunt down there with my dad, we'd go down for walks, go down and hunt. We'd hear weird things. We'd find weird, hear weird vocalizations, and he always kind of blew it off. I think he shielded.
Okay, Jeremiah, I think you're cutting out real bad.
I got older, and I started going down there alone. Things continued, things.
Hey, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, can I go ahead and call you, because we're not hearing
Do you want
everything
to call me?
Say, yeah, can I do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Do you want me to leave the studio?
Yeah, and I'm going to put you on speakerphone, and I'll give you a call here right now. I got to pull my Facebook up to get your number.
Okay, I'll leave. Wait.
All right, and I'll call you right now.
Okay.
Hold on, guys. We'll be right back.
Right. Don't feel bad, Jeremiah. I'm having problems myself.
Did you see me blink out?
Taking forever to
I just
Lord.
But like I said, I apologize, everybody. This is crazy stuff going on.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, I'm going to put it here by the computer. Can everybody, Jeremiah, can you talk? Can everybody hear Jeremiah, please?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Can you all let me know? Can you guys hear Jeremiah okay? Brandy, Darrell?
Yes.
Yes, I hear him fine.
Okay, awesome. Okay, So let's rewind, Jeremiah, and
Yeah.
start over again if you don't mind, and let people know like how this all became a part of your life.
Sure. When I was about, well, we own a lot of family properties. I come from a large logging family. We own a lot of land. Very Adirondack wilderness land. A lot of people don't realize how much wilderness there actually is. People think of New York State and they think of the city.
Right.
Well, they fail to realize there's 6.2 million acres of untouched wilderness in the Adirondack, let alone the Catskills above New York City. It's another 2 million acres.
Sure.
So most of New York State's actually wilderness. Anyway, one property in particular was, always a weird piece of property. And, I'd go down to my dad, and he, I think he kind of tried to shield me from it, but we'd hear weird noises, find weird tracks, weird, trees bent in real bizarre ways, trees knocked down where they shouldn't have been, trees dragged, from a place where trees dragged from one place and put in another where they should not be. So yeah, that's I spent a lot of time down there with my dad as a kid. And then my gram, like I said before, my gram was full-blooded Mohawk, so that was a plus too. Got to hear a lot of stories, about the Akmanari, they call it, which translates into stone giant. So I got to hear a lot on that end as well. I never, as I started going down there along when I was about 16, when I was first legal to get let me back up a little bit.
Okay.
When I was 7, my mother bought me, mysteries, unexplained mysteries of the 21st century. And I was flipping through the book and came across Patty. And boy, she was just the most interesting thing to me. And from that point on, to today, I was infatuated, still am infatuated, always will be infatuated.
Right.
And then, I started going down there at about 16, hunting by myself and, experiencing some weird things that, I couldn't explain. I knew there was, some weird stuff going on there because, my grandmother would talk about it. My father, I could always tell he was trying to shield me for something, but I don't know if I quite knew what it was.
Sure.
My first encounter actually was in 2000, and I was not really actively investigating at that point. I just, I was into it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't a researcher like I am now. But that shortly changed after this experience I'm about to tell you about.
Okay.
So it's muzzleloader season, and I was sitting on watch, and I was it was starting to get to be dusk, and I had to get out of the woods. New York State, they're very strict on when you have to be out of the woods when you're hunting. So I got out of my tree stand, and I had about a mile and a half walk back to my truck. I got about quarter mile to from my truck. My dad has an old log skidder on the left-hand side of the logging road, and I noticed as I'm coming up on the skidder, there's a set of amber eyes staring at me. And, I'm an outdoorsman, survivalist, hunter, fisher, and I can recognize just about anything up here that we've got in the woods up here. This puzzled me. And I had a feeling deep down in my gut that this was something that I had never experienced before. I had that feeling. I think you guys probably relate. Very, very bizarre. So, I had it then I kind of noticed, I walked a little bit closer and I noticed the shape of a head. And as I noticed the shape of that head, it popped back behind the skidder, okay? And I started to walk closer. As I walked closer, it pops back out. Now this time it's got its head out and it's got its left arm wrapped around the front end of the skidder. And at this point, you know, I'm fully illuminated with my headlamp. I have my muzzleloader on my shoulder, and I'm directly facing the skidder, looking at this, thinking to myself, "Oh my God, that's a hand, that's a head." I mean, what am I really looking at one of these things? So it popped. It went back behind the skidder one more time. Now there was two logs, okay, two trees down, I should say, that were laying horizontal towards me, okay, about 15 feet apart. The first one was about 15 feet from the nose of the skidder. All of a sudden, this thing leaps out from behind the skidder. Now, we're talking about at least a 15-foot leap, okay? Now, this thing could have been at the back of the skidder, which would have added about another 10 feet. This thing leaped out, and it hit the first log, and there was no crouching about it. It didn't crouch. It didn't wait. It didn't swing. Excuse me. It didn't swing its arms. It propelled itself off the front end of its feet.
Oh, wow.
It was just absolutely incredible. I had never seen anything like that in my entire life. The athleticism that takes, I just don't think a lot of people can comprehend the athleticism that takes. Now, I will say this was a small one. It was, I would say, anywhere from 4.5 feet to 5 feet.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I told Darrell about this before, and you know, a lot of people will say, "Well, that's not that big. What does it weigh?" And you know, if I had to guess, I'd say 185 to 200 pounds. Well, I got news. Something that's 4.5 feet and is stacked muscle at 200 pounds. That's
a big boy.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's a big boy, a very big boy. So when it hit that log, propelled itself off the front end of its feet, and then hit the other log, which is about another 15 feet away. Okay.
Wow.
And immediately took another leap off that one, same deal, and it hopped behind a tree. Okay.
Right.
And at this point, I'm just in awe. And at that point, it pops out from behind the tree and stands there directly in front of me as I've got it fully illuminated. And I'm staring at this thing thinking, my God, am I really looking at what I think I'm looking at? Or did someone have an orangutan around here and did it get loose?
Right.
Yeah, that's the only thing that came to my mind. So, you know,
you're kind of in shock at this point.
Audience, I am not pro-kill. I am not pro-kill. I don't believe in shooting these things unless your life is in danger.
Right.
But I wanted to get a better look at it, you know, and here it is in front of this tree, and it's doing the typical Sasquatch back and forth wave, you know, with back and forth. So
rocking the head side to side.
Side to side, yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. That's exactly the turnaround.
That's one of their favorite things to do. Yeah.
Exactly. It really is. It really is. Now, I did take my muzzleloader off my shoulder, okay, because I wanted to get a better look at this thing. Now, as soon as I took the muzzleloader off my shoulder and I started to raise it, as I got it high towards my eye, the thing covers its face up with its arms, kind of ducks down, and it pops behind that tree. Now, it's kind of interesting. As soon as that thing saw me point that gun at it, it popped behind that tree, you know, which tells me they know what guns are,
right?
Or they know, you know, hey, these human beings carry some sort of stick that makes a lot of noise and that can hurt us, you know, one or the other. So it went behind the tree, and that was the last I saw of it. I did not see it run away. It just disappeared.
Wow.
It just disappeared. I don't know if I have theories That, you know, they're notorious for the belly crawl. When they get down on, you know, they lay down on their stomach and they'll wait people out.
Sure.
Or they're very good at camouflage. Let's face it, they're the best at it. They're the best at camouflaging themselves. You know, maybe it knew the correct angle from behind that tree to avoid me as it ran off, but I didn't hear a dang thing.
Right.
Maybe it went interdimensional.
What's that, Darrell?
Maybe it went interdimensional.
And that's another possibility I thought of over the years. You know, maybe it did. Maybe it did. At that point, I kind of started to get a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this little guy's out here, you know, where's Mama?
Right.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep, where's Mama? You know, so I said, to heck with this, and I walked to my truck and I got out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first encounter.
So let me ask you a question real quick about you said that you were a mile to a mile and a half in.
Yes.
So when you were walking back to your truck, did you feel anything like following you? Could you hear anything, you know, where like it was following you, or do you think it just went its own way?
The little one went its own way, but I did feel a presence in the air.
Gotcha.
A very get out of here kind of presence.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe that was Mama and her way of telling me. And the next story I'm going to tell you, I'm thinking it may be related to this story.
Okay.
It was 2007. You know, I'd gotten into the research a little tiny bit, but I wasn't quite obsessed with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
This was rifle season, and I wanted to go down, and I had a tree stand near we have a big artesian well, a natural spring, which I think which makes the land very special. I think it's one of the things that brings these things in, and all these cryptids, you know. It's beautiful. You can see the white quicksand bubbling all the time. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, it was in 2007. My plan was to fix up my tree stand a little bit. I had a big 10-point buck that I was trying to harvest that year. And I said, well, if I finish my tree stand early enough, I'll sit for a while and see if I can harvest him. I got, you know, and I did. I got in the tree stand and I sat for a while, and it was starting to get dark. And all of a sudden, I hear an ungodly roar, it's hard to describe. Almost like a cross between a yell and a scream.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And at that point, I said, okay, I think it's probably time to get out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say so. Time to go.
yeah, even though I was packing heavy, I had my 300 Winchester Magnum on me, and I was still nervous after hearing that scream. Usually, you know, you feel pretty secure in the woods with a rifle that size, you know, but I was a little bit nervous. So on the way back, the tree stand is back behind the pond, okay? So you have to walk by the pond to get to the main logging road to walk back to where my truck was. Now, as I'm walking by the pond, I get about 30 to 40 feet away from the edge of the pond, and I see what looks like a tree in about right off the bank, standing there in the water. Look like a tree, and I scratching my head and what's going on here? You know, there's never been a tree there before, and you know, with all the years I've been coming here, but there's one here now. And at that point, the tree turned. She turned her hips and she looked straight at me.
Wow.
And it was a female, big girl, very auburn, actually very pretty auburnish color. And you hear a lot of people talk about matted hair, And I will mention to those out there that don't know this, it is hair. It's not fur. It's hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't see that. I didn't see the matted hair. You know, so they, for all we know, they groom each other or whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe for all we know, up here, way up here in the Adirondacks and in the northern states, maybe they do grow in a winter coat, and she was starting to grow hers in. Who knows? It's all speculation.
Yeah.
But so I like to think about that stuff, though. You know.
Well, you mentioned like you know, the grooming part of them. I know. I used to work at a livestock exotic sale barn, and they used to sell monkeys there all the time. And the monkey from Dr. Doolittle came in there to be sold, and it was sitting right next to me. And the whole night, that little thing was like trying to clean my arm, and then it would go over for me to try to clean it. You know what I'm saying? So maybe when you said, you know, maybe they do clean themselves, you know, or each other, or, you know, that was a good point there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. You know, and I believe in this field we really can't count anything out. You know,
Right. I agree.
So you know, we're sitting there and we're looking at each other, and I was scared. I was extremely scared. I'm not gonna lie to you. This one really terrified me because she was a big girl. She from her the most important. She had breasts. Okay. They were not quite as big as they didn't sag like Patty's breasts. I don't know if she was a younger one or hadn't bred yet or what. I don't know. But she did have breasts. But the most impressive part about her was her hip area, how muscular the legs were, and the buttocks area, and the shoulders, and the front to back. She had to be 2.5 feet. You know.
Wow.
Thick. Just massive.
Yeah.
You know, real long arms, and she was the Patty type. You know, we deal with a couple types up here, and the ones I deal with on my land are the Patty type. You know, I'll get into the other type in a little bit, but
okay.
And anyway, so we're looking at each other, and you know, she didn't have a complete cone head. Okay, it was somewhere in between a cone head and a round head, a little bit in between. Her mouth. Now, there were ones that find it funny, but it's the only way I can put it. Her mouth was so wide. And this is an exaggeration, obviously, but to me at the time, it looked like her mouth went from ear to ear. And all I could think of was a pest dispenser opening up and just biting my head off.
Right.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Just unreal.
Wow.
And it's scary. It's just scared me to death. And at that point, I see her eyes flicker. You can see the muzzle brake and the barrel of my rifle over my right shoulder. And I saw her look at it. And I said, oh, God. Oh, boy. Her eyes flickered back towards mine. She looked directly in my eyes. And I knew what she was thinking. She was trying to tell me, listen, buddy.
Put the gun down.
What's that, Darrell?
Get rid of the gun.
Exactly. Like I told you before, Darrell, the perfect way to put it is from the movie Tombstone, when Wyatt Earp slaps that guy across the face and says, "You're gonna skin the smoke wagon or stand there and bleed."
Right.
You know, and that's pretty much what I read from her. And she, you know, also there was a look in her eye, like, you know, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, and we're both going to go our separate ways, and we're going to be just fine. But you know what? Even if I had wanted to, which I didn't, even if I had wanted to, if I had tried to rip that rifle off my shoulder and take a pop at her, she'd have gotten to me first.
Right.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
I would not have had time to do it. I would not have had time. So then, you know, after that, she realized that I was of no threat, She took one leap out of the water, and she leapt. And I will tell you how I know this in a second. But she took 3 leaps, and she was gone. She went about 63 feet in 3 leaps, and I know that because
Wow.
me and a few buddies of mine went back the next day. I wasn't going down there alone again at that point. We went down there and we found the scuff marks, and they were all at about 21 feet. And
Wow.
then they disappeared.
That-
And if I had to estimate a weight for her, I'd say an easy 600 pounds.
Wow.
Oh my.
Probably seven and a half.
Wow.
Yeah. I've heard of them being closer to 1,000 pounds, big females, some of them.
Yes, exactly.
That's
She might have weighed a lot more than that, Darrell, too, because it was tough to judge the height of her because she was in the water, okay? And the water, where she was standing, the water came up to about, I don't know, a few inches below her kneecap, okay?
Wow.
Which, let's say, is what, maybe a foot and a half. So from the water point up, I would estimate about 7.5 feet. So we might be talking about a bigger creature here, maybe more 8.5 feet. They get very big. They get very, very large up here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. So she could have been closer to 800. You know, I would say 600 to 800 pounds. 600 to 800.
Let me ask you, Jeremiah, did she try to nerve you, make you move first, or did she just leap?
Did she what, Darrell?
Did she try to get you to move first, or did she just take the first initiative and just leap? Because the ones I'd seen in the past would try to see what I was going to do first.
Yeah, I think she was, after she gave me that look, she was seeing what I was going to do. She sat there and watched me for a second, and then she just turned, and she was gone. And I could hear her, and it sounded like a Sherman cane going through the woods, you know, knocking trees over. And, you know, the next day when we were down there, you know, trees were down, and it looked like, you know, a bomb had went off.
Do you think she was, you know, with the knocking of the trees down and stuff, like maybe she was throwing a temper tantrum or doing it as a threatening to you, or what do you think?
I think a little bit. I think it was temper tantrum. I think I interrupted something.
Gotcha.
I think maybe a hunt.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, so I think it was.
Well, I was wondering if it may have been like a show of territory, like this is my spot, not yours.
And that could have been, that very well could have been too. You know, those are my 2 theories for that. But she was very impressive,
Right.
and that was the first. And after that, we never had any problems with the group on our property. You know, so in 2016, Stacy and I decided to, and after, let me rewind, after the 2007 incident, that's when I really said to myself, okay, I'm going to dig deep, I'm going to dive down this rabbit hole, and I'm going to get some answers. I needed answers at that point. I needed them.
Mm-hmm.
I needed them.
Gotcha.
In 2016, you know, I did a lot of investigating between 2007 and 2016. My wife and I were married.
Mm-hmm.
We got married, and we decided to build a cabin on that particular piece of family property. And we lived off the grid that whole summer as we were building our cabin, and that was a crazy, crazy summer. My wife, she saw what we believed to be the alpha male. As one day, she tells me, and my wife, she has some pretty interesting abilities. She said to me, I want to. What's that, Darrell?
Nobody said anything.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. She wanted to go for a 4-wheeler ride, and I said, okay, just be careful, be careful. And she hopped on and she took off. And she told me she was headed back towards the pond.
Wow.
Well, about an hour later, she comes back, and she looks at me and she says, "You'll never guess what happened." And I said, "You saw one, didn't you?" She said, "Yep."
Was
And,
that her first encounter with one?
that was her first visual
Okay.
encounter with one.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And 'cause she had always been a paranormal investigator by trade.
Gotcha.
Full,
Okay.
straight up paranormal investigator.
Well, you make her sound like she was very calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and she was extremely calm. And even to this day, she'll tell me it was a pleasant experience, and you don't hear that often.
No.
No.
Not at all. And so I said, "Okay, show me where you saw him." So we got almost to the pond. She said, "Stop," and she showed me the tree that he came out from behind. And she showed me where she was standing, and they were only about 20 feet away from one another. I said, "Well, tell me, what happened?" She said, "Honey, nothing. I told you, we sat there, we looked at each other, and he turned around, he walked under that branch and back behind the tree." I said, "Well, how much did he clear that branch by?" She said, "When he walked under it, he only cleared it by maybe 2-3 inches." So, I had my tape measure on me because I planned on doing some measuring just in case there were tracks, or I was going to measure for height or whatever. So I pulled the four-wheeler over to the other side where she saw this creature. And I stood on top of the four-wheeler, and I fed her the end of the tape. And I brought the tape up to the bottom of the limb that he walked under. And that measured out at 10'6".
Wow.
Yes. And so, which would have made him about, she said he cleared it by a couple inches, give or take, probably 10'3". And
they're always calmer, I've found, with ladies than they are men anyway. A big male.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
They seem to be comfortable around ladies in the woods or women more than they are men.
Yeah. Yes.
A lot of times, if it had been you or I, we would probably got a bluff charge.
Oh, I guarantee it. I'll guarantee it. Especially being the alpha male, which we believe he was the alpha male. I don't see anyone, any other ones in the group being
That's a huge one. That is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
He's very big, very large, and she said his shoulders were probably 5.5 feet wide. Now what's weird is that she said when he walked behind the tree, okay, the tree he walked behind to walk away was only about a foot wide, okay. So when he walked behind that tree to take under the limb behind the tree to take off, she should have seen his shoulder width. She should have seen it. But when he walked behind that tree, she said she saw one side of his shoulder, and then he was gone. He disappeared.
Wow.
He just disappeared.
Just gone.
He was gone.
Wow. That's crazy.
A lot of people don't believe, and I know Jeremiah, I've talked about this before, and I've never seen one go interdimensional or cloak, but I definitely 100% believe that some of them have the capability.
Yes.
Well, they have to be moving somehow. I mean, honestly, because if something that large, you would hear it walking away.
Absolutely. She did not hear it, nor did she see it walk away.
Wow. So where did it go then? So there it goes.
There's the question.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. And I personally have never seen it.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't want to be honest with you.
Right.
I don't want to see it. So after that, we continued to work in the cabin, and it was a crazy summer. We were cruising. I'll get to this other the next event that took place was we were coming back from, and this was, mind you, 2 nights after she saw this big boy. Okay, and we're coming down the road. We had been to dinner at my parents, had a couple drinks, and it was very late. It was probably around 1 a.m. Just as we're across the road from our property, there's another piece of property that has always given me the creeps, and I had never been in there. I had no intentions in going in there. Something about it has always told me to stay away from it. Mm-hmm. And we look, and I said, Stacy, slow down. You're going to hit that guy on the side of the road. And then I got thinking, what is someone doing out here in the middle of nowhere in the Adirondacks at this hour in the morning, just leaning against a tree?
Wow.
And this thing looked extremely canine. Extremely canine. So it bolted across the road. It had a very sarcastic, just a very sarcastic look on its face. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I will say. Very arrogant.
A lot of people say they smile at you, Jeremiah.
You're right, Darrell. And when it was looking at us, it was almost like a smirk, like a smirk. I almost trying to scare us, with a smirk.
Wow, like intimidation type thing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it just bolted across the road. And that night, as we were sleeping inside the camper. We felt a bang on the side of the camper, and the whole camper rocked. It felt like it was gonna go right over.
Wow.
So then we hear growls, a couple growls, and we hear limbs getting broken. We hear trees getting knocked down. So Stacy's like, I'm gonna go out there and check it out. I said, no, you're not. You're gonna stay right in here.
Right.
You're not going out there.
Right.
She's a little bit more braver than I am, So I have a theory, and it's totally just speculation. But that thing, I don't believe. Up here, you hear a lot of stories in other parts of the country where the dogmen and the Sasquatch, they are seen together and whatnot. And up here, they do not play well together.
Okay.
They don't play well together at all. So it almost sounded like a scuffle outside the camper.
Oh, wow.
He got into his territory.
Exactly. And the only other I had, and we didn't have a problem with that one. Again, we didn't have a problem with that one again. And our Sasquatch on the property, they kick off. They always take off end of October, November, and then they come back in April or March or April. But while they're gone, the other ones move in.
Wow.
The dogman.
What's that, Darrell?
Are you saying the dogman, right?
Yes, that's when they move in.
Wow.
And and I told you, Darrell, and those pictures I posted the other night. The next and that I don't know if that's a dogman or a type of Sasquatch or what, but I was cruising down I told Darrell the story, but I was cruising down the logging road, and there was a tree knocked over. And I went around it, not thinking anything of it. And 100 meters down the trail, there's another one knocked over. Didn't think anything of it. But I started to think to myself, okay, this is kind of weird. And went another 100 meters, and there's a third one. I said, okay, that's just too weird. So I got off the four-wheeler. I did have a weapon on me, and I had a very unnerving feeling like something was watching me. Mm-hmm. And so I pulled out my phone and I started snapping pictures of the wood line. And when I got back to the camper, I noticed a baboon-looking head peeking through the trees at me, glaring at me.
Wow. Wow.
A very, very unnerving picture. It kind of looks like the beast of that beast of Seven Shoots.
Wow.
Very, very, very intimidating looking, very unsettling. But that was the only time I ever had any. I ever saw him. He was gone. But we didn't. I mean, he could have still been there. This is during the summer when the Sasquatch were still there. So I'm guessing they probably got rid of him because he was infringing on their territory as well. I don't believe he had any relation to that dog man unless he was one himself.
Right.
Or a type of Sasquatch. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I do not know.
Wow. So you said that the Bigfoot move out in the fall and then the dogmen come in. Are you dealing with the dogman now?
We're starting to deal with them now. Yes. Last year they gave us a really hard time.
Is it like a whole pack or?
There's different ones. I don't know exactly how many there are. I can tell you, how many Sasquatch we have because I've studied them so hard. 6 to 8 of them. From the tracks and from what we've seen.
Sure.
My wife's nephew saw a black one down in the property as well.
Gotcha.
That's the one I sent you the picture of last night, Darrell, the black one. I took from my bedroom window.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I tell you, the picture you sent me was pretty frightening. It really was. So that would have been really rough to wake up in the middle of the night and see that thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think didn't your wife see it first?
What's that, buddy?
Didn't your wife see it first?
No, that was the other. Remember, I was telling you the other night.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know that she had spotted one a week or two ago, and got up, and it was after you got to looking at it, you could actually see it from your bedroom.
You could see it from our bedroom. It was about probably 30 feet away. It was in the wood line, and it popped out, and I felt her real twisting my back, like trying to wake me up. I'm like, God, what are you doing? Leave me alone. Let me sleep.
Yeah.
She goes, Jeremiah, you got to wake up. Wake up.
Wow.
There's one out there. So, and lo and behold, I passed back out. I don't know if she passed back out or not, but next thing I hear is boom, boom, boom on the side of the house. That woke me up. That got my attention. And
that'll get you up. That'll wake you up there for sure.
It definitely woke me up, that's for sure. And we stayed up for a while, and like I told you, Darrell, I personally didn't see it, but she did. She tried waking me up again. She did wake me up again because she saw it again, and then it pounded on the side of the house again. And she said it wasn't a large one. It was not a juvenile either, something in between, like an adolescent.
Right.
But she didn't see it. She didn't get detail on the face. But I'm thinking it was a dog man, because that's what this time of year, that's what we deal with. Last year they had a really hard time.
Your area anyway. Everybody. I mean, there's so many deep folklore that goes back in about the Adirondacks over the last 200 years of different type cryptids in that area. So it's got just a phenomenal, long folklore stories of all kinds of cryptids. So
absolutely. I tell you, the really weird stuff, Darrell. I told girls, and I told Darrell this. The really weird stuff started happening when I saw my first orc. And this was in North Carolina, and I cannot figure this out. Here we are. We moved to North Carolina for 2 years to tend to my wife's sick mother. We found an extremely, extremely active area down there. and that's where I took the picture of that creature carrying that hog. There, that video.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, nuts. But that swamp, it was a train trestle. Okay, an old train trestle, and it led into it was all water underneath it, and it led into this big bayou. And one night we were down there, and we heard bipedal walking through the water. Okay, and we could hear it coming from different directions. And all of a sudden, you see eyes pop up. There's a set of fluorescent blue ones, fluorescent red, you had green, amber, and there were six altogether. And they did this at will. We weren't shining anything in their eyes, but when I did put the light on them, I couldn't see the creatures themselves. All we could see was the eyes. How do you explain that? It's just very, very, very bizarre. And then, after we sat there a while, and they kept their eyeballs on us for a while, and then we could hear them jibber jabbering back and forth, and they went their way. They went their way, and that night, I sent you that video tonight, Darrell, that orb.
Right.
We had an orange orb pop up right after these things left the area that we were in, and it followed us around, and it kind of followed us out of this area we were researching in. And my wife kind of used her abilities to try to communicate with this thing. And as she's communicating with this orb, granted, mind you, it's about 60 feet away and about 30 feet off the ground. Okay, and every time she would talk to it, it would expand, get really big, get really small, get really big, get really small, and it was a bright, bright orange. Mm-hmm. And Darrell will back me up on this. As she's talking to it, she says, "You don't like me, do you?" And it growled.
Growl. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
Jeremiah,
growling at her.
Real quick, Jeremiah, you have a question. Be Kind asked, any idea where the Bigfoot moved to? East to Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, or north to Canada?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I've been trying to figure that out for you. We deal with another group. I think we have some cave systems around here in the Adirondacks. I personally think through the winter they go into the cave systems up here.
Okay.
Just my honest opinion, because the ones in Canada now, on the reservation where I have a lot of relatives, that's a different type. Okay, than these on my other spots we deal with. Like I said, the ones we have in our land they're kind of like a bunch of hippies. They've never bothered us. I had that one run-in with the female. We settled our differences. We've never had a problem with them. Or some of these other spots we go to, you can feel the tension in the air, and you can just about cut it with a knife. I mean, we've had boulders thrown at us, logs, you name it, it's happened. But they're, like I said, they're a different type. They're what you would call, what we traditionally call a type 4. They're
right.
more proportionally built like us. They don't have the long arms. They're not quite as tall. A big male might get up to about 8 feet, which is still big, huge. Mm-hmm. But, a big male, 7.5, 8 feet, they're just not quite as big, and they look more human. Their face is a more human-looking face.
They don't. I think the type 4, if I remember correctly, doesn't have as much hair on the face either.
Yeah.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have an uncle who was on the river one night, and these things don't go anywhere for the winter. They stay right along the banks of the St. Lawrence River and the marshes. They stay there all year round. And so he's on the river one night, and doing God knows what, but he told me the story, and he had a 2 million watt candle 2 million candle power spotlight on. And
Wow.
he cut his engine for a certain reason, and he could hear splashing at the along the banks. So he was in the narrow channel of the St. Lawrence, and he put his light over that direction, and there's this thing, and it's squatted down by the water, and it's trying to grab something in the water. It was probably looking for food, and it noticed him with the light on him. It stood up, and it was silver in color, full silver, and the face had no hair. And this is crazy. This is probably going to blow your mind, but it's the truth. The color of, he described as the color of the face as like, you know, when somebody blushes and their face turns pink.
Yeah.
That's how he described it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like a pinkish, like a pink.
Right.
And he said it looked very caveman-like.
Wow.
Very, very caveman-like. And noticed them stared at him for a second, turned around and booked through that swamp, through stuff that a human being did not get through.
Wow.
That and that mud, that casting mud, and it just it took off, and that's the type we deal with. I'm right on the St. Lawrence Seaway Valley and Adirondack line.
Okay.
I'm right on the line of both. I get reports about both types. Both types taking hundreds of reports now. And what's interesting is, 90% of my reports you hear about, these witnesses have told us, told me, us, the other guys I do research with, that, before, during, or after the encounter or action, and this goes for me too as well, what I've experienced, there's always some sort of orb involved, light in the sky, something like that.
Wow.
90%.
Let me ask you a question, Jeremiah, real quick.
Yeah.
So in part of like, my main thing is the paranormal and, like metaphysics and things like that. So with the metaphysics, the more that you work on your abilities, which I believe everybody has, but the more that you are open your abilities, there's like a light bulb on your head and the spirit world sees it. And that's when, people.
I am in
Okay, so people, so roamers type spirits and stuff, they see that you have this light bulb, so they'll come see you. How do you feel about like with the Sasquatch and the Dogmen? With, you said you always had an interest in it, and maybe that was why, like, you have a light bulb on your head to them per se. Where am I making sense?
You're making total sense. Yeah, you're making total sense. I think a lot of it has to do with, the interest I've had in them, my ability as an empath. I think they that lights them right up. They focus right on that. And, my wife's out me, her abilities. I think they, they're attracted to that.
I wonder if it's because you are more in tune, with being an empath. Maybe that's the same kind of thing as like in the spirit world too. They see that light bulb on your head because, that's kind of like the same for me as well. My first Bigfoot encounter, I didn't see it with my eyes, but it was there. I felt it 100%. And then I had a well-known psychic medium told me what was looking at us. And, she described things that was there that wasn't there 6 months later, so I have no reason to doubt her. And then here in September, same location, we had, I was with DA Roberts and we were doing our Fall into the Supernatural. And, we had something thrown between myself and DA's wife. And so I haven't seen anything, but I'm open to it. And I wonder if that's, you know what I'm saying? Maybe because, with you as well, being open to it as your wife, that maybe that has to do with why you're seeing them. And that goes with anybody, that sees them and has encounters.
For sure.
Well,
I had a lot to do because, when we went from New York to North Carolina, when we get to North Carolina, we start experiencing this stuff as well. What are the chances of that for an average person?
Right.
well, I totally believe that some people have something in them that attract them. I know I do,
Me
and
too.
I can feel them. And Jeremiah and I've talked about this before. I can go out in the woods and I can actually feel the presence of one being there. I know that sounds insane, but I can.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
This is
you know,
insane in the public.
yeah.
I totally get you.
Al makes a good comment here. He says the Sasquatches know your intentions and can see your aura. I would
very
believe
true.
that the way how,
Very true. 100% true. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. If you go in with bad intentions, they pick it up real quick. They also pick up fear. If they know you're scared, they will try to scare you out.
Yes,
yeah,
they
And
will.
and I know a lot of things too. Like, I've known people that's hunted for 40 years in the woods and never had one encounter or never seen one forest person or Bigfoot. And then people like me, I've seen numerous ones, and Jeremiah too. It makes no sense whatsoever. We have to
right,
have some type of connection to be able to, for these creatures to be drawn to us. And I don't know what the answer is, but it's something.
yeah.
So,
Exactly. And I think maybe my Native American
oh
ancestors
yeah.
have something to do with it as well.
Definitely thinks that makes it. I think that definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Brandy, what do you think?
Well, I did have a question. Now, Jeremiah, you were talking about there's a migration period, for Bigfoot and for the dogmen.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the same ones over and over, the same group, or are these new groups coming in?
That's a good question, Brandy. As far as the Sasquatch on my property, they're the same ones. I've learned. I've been on this group for years, and I can tell by the tracks that it's always the same ones. Some of the other spots we research, one spot in particular, I think one group just recently kicked another group out, and they're a lot more aggressive.
Yep, I would agree.
They're a lot more aggressive. They push them out. They don't even like it when we're there. They get and they mess with us. They get like I said, throwing boulders and
Sure.
we had a juvenile one night where my buddy and I we were next to each other. He was about 100 feet away from me to my left. I was buried inside some bushes, and I had the therm. And, I'm scanning, didn't see anything, but I heard a lot of ruckus. And, he yells to me, Jeremiah, get over here. You got to see this.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get up and I go over there, and in the moss and the pine needles, there's about a 9-inch track, and we watched it disappear right in front of our face. This thing got in between the two of us and took off without us even having any clue that it got in between us.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Going back, just Barton Unley, he and his brother had these things walking all around them, and they were trying to build a campfire, and they could hear them getting closer and closer to them, and they never seen one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It scared them so bad they didn't know what to do, and they had nowhere to run, and eventually they just walked away. But they could hear them walking right next to them. They never seen one of them.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what type of abilities they have, but they definitely have an ability to cloak, interdimensional, whatever it could be called, where they can't be seen. I don't know if all of them have that. Maybe some of them do, some of them don't, but I know they have it. And that's probably what you had. You had one walk right in the middle of you, and you never seen it.
Right in the middle of us, and I've always thought about it. What if, I do believe there are different types of Sasquatch. I believe
no doubt.
Men. But what if also we are dealing with different entities that resemble these things? But
that's very possible. Very
I
possible.
agree.
Yeah.
Like the eyes you've seen in North Carolina, those could have very easily been entities instead of, a Bigfoot or a forest person. I don't know.
And exactly, which kind of brings me to that encounter. We were underneath the train trestle the night before I took my son for a walk, and we were on top of the train trestle. We were only there a few minutes. I wanted to get him out of there before dark. We're watching these two eyes, and Darrell, when you described to me a set of eyes you saw one time that were like car lights, just
Oh,
lit
yeah.
right up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see in the water. We could hear bipedal steps in the water, and that's what the eyes look like. And all of a sudden, a boulder comes flying, hits the water underneath the bridge in front of us. Boom! And you could hear it hit the stones at the bottom of the water. It was thrown so hard.
Yeah.
Then we had one come behind us and do the same thing. So that was our cue to get out of there.
Yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
night, Stacy, myself, and our adult child, our adult daughter, go down,
Mm-hmm.
and we get under the bridge, and we were hearing some awesome vocalizations, awesome. And here I am on the phone with one of my research partners at the time. I got my head down, and I'm texting away, and my daughter was next to me, and she starts to panic. Oh my god, Jay. And just as I'm looking up, you see this. It was a gray Sasquatch. Okay, and by the time I got a look at him, all I could see was the side profile. Okay, and he paid us no mind. I had him lit right up. He paid us no mind at all. All we could see was his fluorescent blue eyes. He walked up the hill, walked across the train tracks, walked back down, disappeared on the other side of the bayou.
Wow.
But she panicked pretty good. This thing, it looked much different than the ones we see up here. It was shorter. I'd say he was probably 7.5 feet. But you could tell he was
Wow.
big deck. And he had what I would describe, for lack of better terms, I'm going to say it looked like he had a beer belly. But you can tell it wasn't a beer belly; it was solid muscle.
Wow. Wow. That's
So
crazy.
He didn't have that bodybuilder build like they do up here. He was shorter and thicker.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So yeah.
Pretty crazy.
The funny thing about them too, some of them you can smell them and some of them you can't. Could you smell that particular one?
To be honest with you guys, I have never experienced the smell, not one time.
I have never experienced it but one time, and I could never see the actual creature that time. I could just smell it when I went in.
Wow.
So I don't know what causes that either, because a lot of people smell it right off.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like you. I haven't experienced it very many times. So
yeah, same here. Not one. I haven't experienced it once. My theory on that is one of my theories is I think it might be a glandular thing.
Mm-hmm.
That they, when they feel threatened or they want you out of their area, they'll let it go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They said woodland animals stink, bears smell. But from what I gather, from people that have caught the Sasquatch, from what I hear, it's revolting.
Gotcha. Chad says skin oil.
Yeah, I can buy that
Possible.
too. Yeah.
Possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a question here for you, Jay.
Sure.
Al asked, has he ever experienced to be hit with infrasound?
Yes. I told Darrell the story several times. It's not a pleasant experience. We were one of our the spot I was just telling you about, where the one got in between us.
Mm-hmm.
We got there, and one of the females I had with me, one of my female research partners, said, Jeremiah, there was a beaver pond on one side of the logging road, and just woods on the other, soft woods on the other. And she said, there's something over there. behind that big tree. There is something over there. I'm telling you right now. I'm like, well, why don't we just go over here? Because I really didn't think there was. I thought she was jumping the gun because we had just gotten there. I said, why don't we all split up a little bit and see what happens? So finally, I said, you know what? To heck with it. You know, I'm gonna go over there and check it out. So I go over there, and there's a set of tracks behind this tree, and they were 14-inch tracks. And as I go, wow, how did she know? You know, she was right. I squatted down and I pulled out the therm, and I started scanning the area. And all of a sudden, I felt something behind me, and I turn around and I see this brown flash just run by me at a speed I had never seen an animal or creature, whatever you want to call it, run at before. And it was just unbelievably fast. And as it went by me, my equilibrium went completely gone. I lost my equilibrium. I started to vomit. I started to cramp up. And it was horrible. Just a very horrible experience. And I believe it hit me with infrasound.
Wow. Wow.
That's about the worst feeling you can have at that time. Did your legs tingle and go numb too?
Yes, I stayed on my knees vomited, and spun around in circles, with dizziness. It was horrible.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
a lot of people say that they experience the numbness and the nausea and all of that with it.
Yes.
I've had it numerous times. I know exactly the feeling. It's a very weird feeling, and it almost demobilizes you.
Wow.
Yes.
Puts you in a vulnerable situation if there's a lot of them there.
It does. It puts you in a very vulnerable situation, and I believe they probably use it for hunting. Big cats. Right. The Sumatran tiger is very well known for using infrasound on prey. Crippling the prey with the infrasound and then grabbing onto it. Who's to say these things don't do the same thing?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Real quick, want to take a minute to give a shout out to our Texas partners and all them good guys. On Monday nights, people can tune into Texas Front Porch at 6:30 p.m. Central. I'm going to say the times that it will all be Central. On Tuesday evenings is the Van Buren Variety at 7 p.m. Also on Tuesday evenings is Beyond BMR at 8 p.m. Wednesday night is Ciru Papers at 8 p.m. Wednesday night after that is Jason McLean Questions Everything right at 9 p.m. On Thursday, there's brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob at noon. Thursday nights, you have Blondes and Booze at 8 o'clock. And on Friday nights, you have Blondes, Booze, and the Woo at 8 p.m. And I also want to let everybody else know, too, Barton and Letitia Nunley are selling, they have T-shirts available, and they have drawings and all kinds of good stuff if anybody's looking for some cool stuff. I have my T-shirt on now from them. So you can look up on their Facebook page, and I can post that too. And I've also posted Jeremiah's YouTube channel, and I will also post his Facebook page too. So
Very cool.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so anyone hasn't gotten on Jeremiah's page, do so, because he's got a lot of good stuff out there.
Yep.
I especially for me, just learning all this stuff. There's a lot of good information.
Yep. I would agree with you, 110%.
Well, he's just a super guy too. He's about as straight up, and he's real honest about everything, and got some amazing stories.
I'm hearing.
He's been through it. So
yeah.
And after you research a while, you kind of pile up those stories. So
right.
A lot of people, you tell them you've seen numerous Sasquatches, and they look at you like, "Well, you're crazy." But I mean, I have, and I know you have. So I think it gets more and more the more you get involved.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope they don't follow you home. They
without a doubt,
should be.
without a doubt, without a doubt. And the only other experience I've had with a dog man was down on the land, and this was in the fall of last year. And Darrell, it's that picture I sent you tonight.
Yeah.
We were a locked eyes. It was standing there, and it had its arms wrapped around. But look to me, we were probably 100 feet away from each other. It had its arms wrapped around, what looked like a dead deer.
Wow.
And it stared at me. I stared at it, and I had a long gun on me,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's what saved me from getting bluffed or charged, or maybe it was that they already had food, because these dogmen are just very aggressive up here. They last year they gave us a horrible time last year. Came to our windows, sticking their face to their windows.
Do you go outside at night?
Do I?
Are you comfortable going outside at night with either the Bigfoot or the dogmen in the area?
Yeah. On our property, absolutely.
Okay.
I don't like to mess with the dogmen at night.
Right.
Unless there's safety numbers, unless I have a big group.
Right. I can understand that.
But
we actually, Jeremy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You were actually in our group live last year at night, and that was a pretty good show that you had that night, because we heard a lot of different creatures that night, and I think you encountered one live in the group that night, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Yep. And that's the second time that's happened. Happened to me in North Carolina as well. I was alone. I broke my own rule. Don't go out alone. I broke my own rule. I went into the swamp by myself at about 12 a.m. I'm looking around for footprints, and I saw some footprints from some creatures that I was very familiar with. And, it was a mud bed, and you could see the hog tracks. So they were on the hogs. They were after the hogs. And my buddy, Travis Bowen, he said, well, why don't you make a loop around that mud bed and see if you can get one to follow you back, see if you can get some footage. So, I did it. Lo and behold, when I get back, I stop, and I walk back about 10 feet, and there's a set of 17-inch tracks. Just as I'm looking at these tracks, I hear him say, Jeremiah, get out of there now.
Wow.
Get out of there now. And I said, why? He said, because as you turned your back, he stuck his head out from behind that tree and just eyeballed you.
Wow.
So I got out of there.
Real quick, there's a question. Does having an actual dog helpful if a dogman is in the area?
No.
Having what now?
A dog?
No.
Through my experiences and through working with Nick for so long now, I think they absolutely despise dogs. Dogs do not scare these things away.
Okay. That was a question someone asked for you.
Yep.
I know one thing, the Bigfoot do not like the dogs at all.
No, they don't either.
Wow.
No,
they will take one out if they can get a hold of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that would come down to territory again.
Right. Plus the intimidation. Yeah,
okay.
they don't like being intimidated.
Right. Gotcha.
Like when people are having problems around their house and, with these things, and they have a dog, a lot of the times, I've been on a case that Nick gave me where this lady's dog was killed, Belgian Malinois. They just ripped to shreds.
Wow.
Totally ripped to shreds by a Sasquatch. He thought when he was down there he was dealing with a family of dogmen, but turns out it was a family of Sasquatch, and he gave the case to me. And these things were doing some incredible things around this woman's house. I felt bad for her, so I helped her out, and she ended up moving. It got so bad. After her dog was killed, She said, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't blame her.
I don't blame her either because yeah, I don't blame her. And I had and the thing with Darrell, you and I have talked about this before. I think when if you, as far as with women and women that have their time of the month, if they're in the woods,
Don't go in the woods. No,
don't go in the woods.
that's exactly right.
Yep.
I'm really never comfortable with a woman with me in the woods anyway, and nothing against women. It's just I know some of those creatures. They're not creatures; they're people, and they have a different idea than you think they have. So, and
Darrell,
anytime it's that time of the month, they can smell a woman a mile away. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and that'll get me to this next part. I was doing on another investigation in Ohio, and this lady, she had a Sasquatch who was obsessed with her, just obsessed. She would see him every night, and he would just glare at her. And finally, after picking at her enough, she proceeds to tell me that her and her boyfriend, they would set up a bonfire outside every night, quite a ways from their house, and they were urinating in a jar and throwing it when they were done with it because they didn't want to go in the house and use the bathroom. And I said, you understand that you doing that, you're releasing your pheromones, and this thing is looking at you as an option.
Yeah, it's exactly what Pat Murphy just said too.
Yep.
It was looking at her as an option.
Wow.
There's no doubt about it.
Wow.
I agree 100%.
Wow.
That they have a way of sense anyway. I don't know about you. I'm not sure how far they can smell a person, but I know when you get out of the vehicle, they know you got out of it. You can be a long way off, but
They know you're there. Yeah.
and I feel assured that they can smell you that way too. So,
Yeah.
most of the attacks that I've heard about over the years have been with ladies with strong perfume.
Wow.
Yeah. Perfumes that have the pheromones that them and stuff. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Wow.
Which is that could turn into an extremely dangerous situation. I mean, you hear about the Native Americans talk about these things snatching women and carrying them off. It's just it's wild. But I told her, I said that's crazy. You gotta stop doing that immediately because something bad is gonna happen. She took my advice, stopped doing it, and she ended up moving. But she started having interactions with another one, with a black one. The first one was brown, this one was black. She moved to a totally different part of Ohio, which goes back to our point that if these things tune in on you or tune in on something about you, they're gonna know, they know, and they're gonna follow you, or they're gonna the ones in the area you move to or head to are gonna pick up on, like you said, Chris.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. So we are at the 1 hour, 23-minute mark, and I want to touch on some paranormal experiences that you've had.
Sure. In which I'll say this first too. I believe all that stuff, all the paranormal stuff, the cryptid stuff. I believe there's connection.
Me too.
I believe it's
100%. 100% agree with that. Aliens, UFOs also.
Right. I would agree, Darrell. Yep, absolutely.
Same here. I mean, we've had orbs fly through our house several times. This is especially during the whole Dogman thing last winter. We had a lot of paranormal stuff. I would wake up during the night. I can send you the picture actually. If you find it. I got up and I was kind of in a half asleep, and I must have picked up my phone, okay, because I woke up the next day and I started looking through my phone, and I realized I had taken a bunch of pictures, and well, the pictures I took you can see these entities.
Oh, wow.
You look out. I took a picture of the window of our bedroom window, and the top pane of the glass, where these two heads were. There's 3 different pictures, two heads looking in from outside, and there's no way they were human beings because no human beings are 8 feet, and they don't look like human beings. So I got 3 shots of them, and I got another that I took in kind of a half sleep of this. I don't even know how to describe this to you. It's going to make me sound crazy. I almost don't even want to say it. But
Believe me, I've seen some crazy things, Jeremiah. You're not going to say anything
Just say,
that is going to make me think
you're talking
crazy
to the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Well, there's this thing I take a picture of, and I didn't know I took the picture until the next morning. And it's almost like it's a bald creature in the air, bald head, pointed ears, and carrying a little stick in its hand. And I'm going to find the picture right now, and I'm going to send it to you, Krista.
Okay.
It's insane.
Does it sound like, it kind of sounds like a rake, maybe?
There we go, right there. There it is. Going to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tiny, though. Very tiny.
Wow.
Let's see.
Sounds like a wraith, though.
But if he says it's tiny, could it be like, I mean, I've never personally seen one, but I hear people talk about like fairies and things like that too.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay. Now that's what it looks like to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen one myself, but I've heard of them. I've had friends that say they've seen them, but I've never seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. I'm just trying to send it on my computer right now.
Okay.
Trying to send it to your messenger.
Perfect.
Here you go.
I don't know. My philosophy, I am a hardcore believer that, people see all of these weird things, and I myself have witnessed things that I cannot explain. So I never have a reason not to believe someone, or I wasn't there when that experience happened, or whatever, So believe me, you're talking.
Yeah, I got tickled, Jeremiah, and I've talked so many times. He's really a close friend of mine, and well, he and I both agree we wouldn't be surprised if somebody called and said there was a Tyrannosaurus walking through New York City. It wouldn't shock me any. I wouldn't say no, it's not. That's for sure.
Right.
So,
say where?
Yeah.
Can I get there to see it?
Yeah, where'd I go?
Exactly.
What street?
Yep.
Let me put it in my GPS. Let me get there.
You gotta have an open mind in this field.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of people don't, and that's a whole lot of that kind of negativity and stuff holds us back from getting answers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here, I'm almost there, Krista.
Okay, you're good. You are good.
Yeah, this was around the time all the dog men were coming to the windows, leaving their handprints on the windows. All sorts of good stuff. Here we go. There it is.
Okay. Let's see here.
Here we go. Right there. There it is. I just sent it to you, Krista.
Okay, it hasn't came through quite yet. Oh, there it is.
Darrell,
Okay.
I sent it to you. Brandy, I'm going to send it to you as well.
Actually, do you mind if I post it on
Absolutely.
Okay, so guys, go ahead and talk to Jeremiah, and I'm gonna go blank.
Well, I was gonna say,
okay,
I got the picture too, but I if I can't see everything, it's because I'm working with a really small screen.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you sent it to me anyway.
Yeah. So give me just a second, and you guys continue talking, and I will. I'm gonna go black here for just a minute and get it on here.
Okay.
All right.
I was just thinking, Chad had brought up something about it being so cold, and if, possibly Bigfoot, Dogman, if they would go underground and nest underground for, a weather event like this. Do you think that that's possible?
Oh, I definitely think it's possible. Especially how I said every year they're gone. I think that's why they up here in the Adirondacks. We have winters 30, 40 below zero, and that's unbearable for any kind of creature to take. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, I also think that I don't think they go real far. I think they're in the general area. I don't think they go hundreds of miles, but I do think they also follow the food source. So
I do too. Yeah.
if the deer are moving in the lower areas where the weather would be a little warmer instead of up higher, they're going to go in that direction.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
But in this field, anything's possible. It's anything's possible. In these,
I've done a lot of studying with Ron Moorhead. I think the world of that guy. He's at the top of the list, and he completely believes that they do. Of course, he has the quantum. The quantum Bigfoot. He was one of the first ones that came out and admitted that he 100% believes they cloak and go interdimensional. And when they do that, what I understand, it also takes away. It puts them in a kind of a psychosis type state where they don't need as much food. You believe that too?
I could buy that. Yeah, I'm open to that. Absolutely.
Not that they're hibernating in the winter, but they may not need as much to eat.
Right.
Yeah, with Missouri, where we are, it's the cave state, of course. I honestly believe that they're using these caves.
Oh,
They've
yeah,
got
I
to
do
be
too.
using those tunnels and caves and
I would
everything
agree,
to.
Brandy.
What's that?
I would agree.
I think so.
You mentioned that. I did not know that Missouri was the cave state, so I'm glad
It
you
is.
mentioned it. So,
We are full of caves.
well,
Yep.
Kentucky has a lot of caves too, and I
Oh,
think,
yes.
yeah, they have a lot of caves. Tennessee has caves, but not nearly as many as Kentucky and apparently Missouri. But I've also lined up these cave systems with the cryptid sightings, and I've overlaid them, and I've put it in my group several times, and you'd be surprised how close in resemblance the main area of cryptid sightings are. Bigfoot mainly in the cave areas. They line up right on top of each other. Also, with the missing 411s the same way.
Yeah.
They all line up above the cave system. I know you've seen that, haven't you, Jeremiah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And we've got them here. We've got them here in the Adirondacks too. Cave systems. And I totally agree with that theory. Totally agree with it.
Okay, I have your picture on here.
Okay.
Oh, good. I'm excited to see it.
So are you able to look at the picture and show us what we're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it up here now.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So let me get to it again. Yeah.
Wow.
So like I said, I was in a. I don't remember taking the photo.
Wow.
I don't remember doing it. I got up out of a dead sleep. I must have.
Right.
Because I took the picture, and if you look at it, you can see. If you look at the head, if you can blow it up at all a little bit.
I can't blow it up at all, unfortunately.
Okay.
no, but I see it.
You can see an eye socket.
Yep.
You can see
A nose.
You can see a chin.
Yep.
It's holding some sort of stick.
Yeah.
And to me, it looks like it's got a set of wings on its back.
Yeah. I can see that.
Because it's in the air.
Well, and then if you look above it in the back there too, it looks like some sort of little I don't know, maybe an orb of some sort. What do you think, Brandy?
Yeah.
It possibly could be. I mean, it's just that little flick, but you never know what that is. And Jeremiah, you said you took this picture, but you don't remember taking this picture?
I do not remember taking that picture.
Wow. That's crazy.
And this was in your bedroom?
That was in the bedroom, correct.
Wow.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
It's very kind of disturbing.
You know, if you study the stick it's got in his hand, Jeremiah, look at the top of the stick. It's almost got a arrow look, like a top feather on the top of it.
That reminds me of a fairy.
I just noticed that.
That's what I was thinking too, Brandy. Some
Yeah.
sort of fairy or something.
That's what it looks like to me. And it very well could be.
Her thing, and
Yeah.
she said it looks like part of the fae.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So
That is correct.
I don't know a whole lot about like the fairies and that kind of thing, but I do know they can be a troublesome.
Yes, they can.
But I've also heard they could be just the opposite too. They could be good. It depends on like we did a private case, and it started out 100% paranormal, ghosts. I fully believe that she has ghosts there too, but it was a horse farm, and her horses were dying, and this went on for a couple years. You know, we helped this lady, and I mean, we did all kinds of stuff there at her place, and we come to the conclusion. I actually, in her barn, I seen a thing that looked like a troll to me.
Okay.
And so we ended up Jeremy Leonard. He's kind of my spiritual guider, you know. So I got with him, and he told me that we needed to like offer something to them in return, like, because she was losing all these horses, she's had her dogs, she was in bad shape herself. And we did that. We did like a peace offering, and we planted some apple trees and did a whole little ceremony, and everything's been good since. So go figure. You know,
Wow.
but the elementals, it was like, you know, the way we took it after that maybe, you know, she had taken all this ground and she had cleared it. She had put up horse fencing, you know, so she was taking from them. She cut trees down. She did these things. So we had to give back, you know? So
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know. It's just interesting, you know?
It is. It's extremely interesting. And, you know, I got another quick one for you, which you'll find very, very interesting. I got called by a farmer right now a few years back, and they were like, "Believe I sent you this photo." He said, "You got to come down here and you have to take a look at what I have to show you."
Yeah.
Go down there, and there's a full-grown buck, 16 feet up in a tree.
Wow.
And this happened 3 times in an 8-month period. Same tree, same limb.
Yeah.
And he's seen Sasquatch on this property before. Now, at the time, I was working with another researcher, a pretty famous researcher. He's getting older now and towards the end of his career. But anyway, he called a big cat expert at one of the colleges out in Washington State. We because we do have cougars up here, and we asked him, you know, could a cougar have done that? And he said, it's possible, but usually a cougar will drag its prey away and bury it because they don't have the jaw structure or the hip structure to carry a full-grown buck 16 feet up into a tree.
Right.
You know, and so something put this thing up in this tree 3 times in an 8-month period.
Wow.
Well,
So
let me tell you what I found out about that. I actually posted that in my group a couple of times. But if you will notice, a lot of those deer that are in the top of the trees like that, I've had people in the group say that it was a big cat, and actually almost got into an argument over it being a big cat. And my point, the way you tell it's not a big cat, if a Sasquatch does it, you will look at the bottom of their legs below the knee. It will be snapped.
Yes, and that's how these are. Yeah.
That's what they do to the deer. They disable them and let them live until they're ready to use them for food. And the deer is it's a terrible way to put it, but they disable them by breaking their legs between the knee and the hoof, and they
But it's
can't run
smart.
off.
Exactly.
It's
And
smart.
the ribs were broken systematically as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
And
like I said,
they'll
it's
put it up.
smart. It sounds gruesome, but it's smart.
It's, how many big cats break the legs off of a deer below the knee? So
Right.
Right.
none. So I've had that defense forever about it, and when you tell them that, they can't come up with an answer. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's big cats that can do that. I'm not saying there's not. I'm sure in Africa or somewhere like that, especially the lion or something. But they don't break their legs.
No.
Right. And that's what he said. Leopards and jaguars, that's their thing. They drag kills up in the trees. They have the structure, the hip structure for it. But the North American mountain lion doesn't have that same jaw power that leopards and jaguars do, and they don't have the hips to do that. Those are his words. Coming from a PhD, a big cat PhD. That's why we called him to find out. And he said it's possible. We have heard of extremely big males doing it, but it's very, very rare. But the fact that this happened 3 times in an 8-month period, same tree, same limb, says something as well.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah. Well, and it's really hard for me because deer in the South have a tendency to be smaller.
Okay, yeah.
And I still don't think they could take one from here and drag it. I still don't.
Right.
I mean, if you go north of here, yeah, they have a tendency to get bigger, of course, but they're living on different types of food also, and they just get bigger.
Right.
I just don't think they could take one. Even the biggest one they have out there couldn't take to take a deer up a tree.
Right.
I agree with you.
That's
100%.
Yeah, that's just crazy stuff there. So and a question to you, Darrell, like have you witnessed deer in a tree as well?
I've never seen an actual deer. That I have found a complete deer that had decayed in the bones and the head was still in the tree.
I was going to say probably parts.
And they left it there, and it was still just mainly the rib cage. The head was between branches. Something had put it up there.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't see it when it was natural state, but sometime or another, and I'm sure they came back and probably fed on it and left it there. But I've seen plenty of deer that were killed by what I believe to be a forest person or a Sasquatch, and
Sure.
they don't eat a deer like you would think they would. The first thing they do is they eat the innards. They will go in and put a hole right through the side of the chest and eat the heart and the innards first. Is that what you've seen, Jeremiah?
Yep, I've got a picture of it right here.
Wow.
So
then they will eat the tongue. They'll tear it out and they'll eat the eyes occasionally because the eyes are nothing but water. And if it's a dry time of year, they'll do that. But they will always eat the innards first before they eat the meat.
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely true, Darrell. Definitely true. Here you go, guys.
Did you send me another picture?
Yep, of that what we were just talking about. It's a deer with its neck snapped 180 degrees, and there's a big hole in the side.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
That's okay. I'm going to go black again and get this picture put on here so I can show it. So I'll be right back.
Because I want to see it.
It's
I'm
amazing
sitting here.
the actual power they have because they take their fist or their fingers and just stick it right through that tough skin of the deer and just pull out the heart, I think is what they try to get first, and then the liver. And then
Do you think that's their delicacy? That's why they eat that first, or is that the stuff that goes bad first?
It's going to be your number one protein parts.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, especially the heart. Yeah.
Could be their tasty parts.
Could be, yeah. But I've seen a lot of deer in the woods in that condition.
Obviously for a lot of human hunters.
Do what, Jeremiah? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, I said even for humans as hunters, I like venison heart.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So imagine the Sasquatch; they're gonna really like it.
Well, I've actually seen. I didn't actually see it happen, but I did see in one of our gifting spots. We watched with FLIR. We watched 7 coyotes, a complete pack, and we could hear them coming for a good ways off. We probably
Oh
listened
yeah.
to them for an hour, and they chased this young deer down, and we seen the deer, we seen the coyotes after them, we seen it take it down, and then on the FLIR now, as we're watching this, they completely disappeared. The coyotes left. The deer was on the ground, and on FLIR, the Sasquatch come in, take what they want, and leave the rest for the coyotes.
Yes. Yep. You leave the rest. Yep.
Okay, I have the deer picture. I'm going to go ahead and put that up.
Okay,
So,
just remember this could be gross. So if you
yeah, I was
are
just going to say that.
sensitive, please close your eyes.
Yeah, if you don't want to see it.
Yeah, and the way that neck
There it
twisted
is.
like that.
I see that.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
twisted.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Twisted 180.
That's crazy.
They
Yeah.
got so much strength, they just twist that neck and kill
They
them
just
in.
twisted it all the way around.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to
That
go ahead
is
and take it down
nuts.
for those that don't want to see it. There we go.
Okay.
All right. You're safe to look now.
Hey,
Whoever doesn't want to look.
if the picture's gone now, but if you look at that picture, Jeremiah, does that front leg not look like it's broke between the ankle and the foot?
You check.
It looks like it to me as quick as I seen it. I might have to look at it again.
Between the front leg and the foot.
And the hoof, yes.
It looks like to me, Darrell, that hole in the side of the chest there,
Yes.
that leg is totally gone from that side.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's also a leg up there that I seen next to the neck, and it was the hoof. It looked like it was bent down.
Yeah.
You can say what you want, but that head twisted all the way around like that? Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nobody's going to do that.
Me and my partner Billy Howell at our last gifting spot in Cheatham County, Tennessee, we found what we call a killing field, and they had took a game trail, and they stacked up logs and debris where it funneled into an area where they made a blind, and they jumped out and caught these deer, is what we figured with all the tracks we found, and just twisted their neck and killed them. Fed on them, and there was a pile of them. There was as many as 10 or 12 of them over a number of months that were still there.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
It is. I've seen them build funnel traps, and where my wife and I walked into one night, not knowing, and we finally figured out where it was. It was like we thought it was another game trail, another path, but it led us into this big area where we were surrounded by vegetation weaved together.
Wow.
Meant, as a funnel trap to get deer or hogs or whatever inside, and then not being able,
to get out. Yeah.
Trying to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that common? Something to see? Okay.
Yeah. From my experience.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. What about just like plain old tree structures and stuff? Do you have that on your property?
Oh yeah. Yep. Still, I've got pictures of trees twists, not breaks. I'm talking branches that are 6 inches in diameter, twisted. Trees ripped out of the ground from the roots and jammed back in upside down. huge arches. And I'm not talking about little trees. I'm talking about trees that are, 8 inches in diameter, arched, and all in the same area. The X's, the arches, I agree. Yes, some of this stuff can happen through snow, through weight,
Sure.
but you find dead summer, and you're finding this stuff, and they'll be wedged the end of the tree when you have an arch. How you can really tell if it's the real deal is if it's arched and it's jammed under something else, like a rock or another tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll take a bigger dead tree and put across it to form an X.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow.
That's
Interesting.
their
That's
marker.
amazing.
That's their marker, the X. I truly believe that's what it is. That's my own theory, but
yeah, I do too. I believe that too. And I've seen them crack trees. Okay, for example, an 8-foot tree cracked halfway up. Okay, and pulled out and made into a perfect T.
Wow. Wow. What do you think these different are symbols or whatever? What do you guys think that they are? What they mean?
I think some of it might be some of them are territorial markers. I'd imagine. Some of them might be them communicating. Hey, the white-tailed deer are this way. The moose are this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
I truly believe that the X markers are I truly believe the X markers are the real forest people. That's my opinion, but I agree with you on the others, but I think the X's are for the Xano.
World Bigfoot Radio says an X standing up is a territorial marker, an X on the ground is a welcome mat. Could be.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How many times are you going to see a welcome mat, though?
See
Yeah.
them quite a bit, really. If it's the friendly kind, you will see quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I had no idea. I
didn't either. That's, like I said, it's just, that's what amazes me is just talking to everybody. I'm learning so much information. I never knew that.
I'll tell you what,
Jeremiah,
I honestly, I've come a long way because, Brandy knows this, and we've had these conversations for a long time. And, I was always like a flesh and blood. It's some kind of ape, undiscovered monkey in America is what I always thought it was. And, talking to people and listening to like credible people, tell their stories. And it's really changed my way of thinking about a lot of it. Honestly, it really has. It's, I've always been open to the paranormal, and then I start hearing some of this, and the interdimensional, and it's totally opened my eyes to a whole other ballgame,
Same thing here, Chris. If you would ask me what I thought these things were 10 years ago, I would have told you they were some sort of undiscovered North American ape.
Yep.
But I've just had so much weird activity happen.
Yeah.
From when this started.
Yeah.
There's just way more to it than that.
Right. I fully believe that. The orbs, okay, you and Darrell have both talked about orbs. What do you feel the orbs are? Do you think it's other ones around that just aren't in formation? Do you think it's some kind of spiritual ghost? Or what do you guys feel like the orbs possibly are?
Oh, God, that's a good question.
I personally do not like the orbs. Every time I've seen orbs, I've had bad things happen. So, I've been zapped numerous times with orbs, and it's mainly been with the orbs. What about you, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I don't like them either. They give me a very bad vibe, like a malevolent vibe. Especially when we had that. My wife and I had that one growl at us.
Right.
I mean, come on. I mean, it obviously did not have good intentions.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
There are people that say the orb is a Bigfoot transferring to a different area, and I don't know how true that is. I think anything's possible, but
right.
That's one theory. The other theory is that it's just a manifestation of energy coming from Bigfoot itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see Bigfoot, you may see an orb. It's just the energy that's manifesting off it. That's another theory.
Yeah. I know
I have no clue.
the strangest night of researching I ever had was with orbs. That was the strangest by far I ever had. And it wasn't but a couple weeks after that they started terrorizing my farm. So I don't know what it had to do with it, but it had something to do with it.
Yeah. World Bigfoot Radio makes a good point in here. It says the honest field researchers who are actually getting Bigfoot activity always end up realizing there are paranormal aspects attached to the phenomena, but only the brave ones talk about it. Amen.
Amen.
Agree
There
with
you
that.
go.
Yeah, true.
I'll talk about it till I'm blue in the face.
I'm with you. I agree with that.
You know, our Friday night show is called Blondes and Booze and the Woo for a reason.
Yeah. That's us.
Yeah, that'd be us. And Chad says, I heard someone got radiation poisoning from the orb.
Oh,
So that's interesting.
You know,
That brings up a good point. You know, I mean, do either of you guys know if anybody have any like lasting effects or from getting
oh
zapped?
yeah, I do. Yeah, and another thing too, I don't know if any of you paid any attention to the Skinwalker Ranch area, but every time they had orbs there, they had tons of radiation.
Gotcha.
So how it brings it in, or what it does, or if it is the same type of orb, I don't know that. But
Right.
you know, the last orbs that we seen, we got pretty sick for a pretty good while. It was a different type of sick, but I don't like being around them.
Yeah. So quick question, Darrell. The night that you went to Land Between the Lakes last time, you had orbs. You guys seen orbs, didn't you?
No, we didn't see orbs. We
No.
seen what looked like a large.
I know you've seen a being, but I thought you had saw orbs.
No, we didn't.
Too.
We did not see orbs that night. No.
That would be interesting. Has anybody tried to test the radiation out there? You know, take it with them when they're out there researching in the field or looking for radiation?
I never have myself. Probably be a good idea to do that, but I never have myself. No.
I mean, I would check for that, and electromagnetic.
Yeah.
I would check that.
Yeah.
Just to see, because I mean, we check for EMF. Of course, it could be spiritual activity and blah blah blah, but it also could be
a logical
the wiring in your house going crazy, and it can make you sick with long-term exposure. People don't understand that. I mean, if we go in and we have EMFs off the chart, we're going to check it, recheck it, and keep checking it, because if it continues to stay high, you've got a problem. It's wiring, and you're going to get sick eventually. It's going to make you a little loopy. So
a place like Land Between the Lakes, though, there's no,
you just never know.
There's so many strange stories I hear from there. It's really remarkable of all the stories that you hear out of there. Now, as far as me experiencing them all, I haven't, but I know we did experience the strangest creature I ever seen. I've never seen anything like that, and that was roughly 2 months ago. And it looked like a shiny looking gray silver large creature laying off to the right of the shoulder of the road within 10 to 15 feet from the side window I was in. And we were traveling at a real slow speed, and it looked like it was going to pounce on us like a cat. It was in that type of statue. I couldn't see its legs good because it was in the weeds, but the head was like, it was like an outline of like silver glowing light, and the eyes were like small flashlights is the only way I can put them. They were so bright. And it looked like a cartoon figure. It really did. That's the only way I can say, but it wasn't a cartoon figure. And it was very strange. Never seen anything like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that made us real sick that night.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, and I know Brandy has to get up and go to work in the morning. So, Yeah, she is. She is a trooper. She
She
I'm
also
the
is a
beast.
trooper.
she does 3 shows a week. She actually does Texas Front Porch every Monday evening with Tex.
Yeah,
So,
I do Texas Front Porch at 6:30 p.m. Central, Monday
yep,
nights.
yep.
And
So she
then
is
Two
a trooper.
Blondes and Booze.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Jeremiah and Darrell. Both of
Thank
you
you,
guys
Jeremiah.
were
Oh,
great.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Darrell.
Jeremiah.
That was really cool of you to come on.
Yeah, and tomorrow night, guys, we have Steve Stockton back here at same time, 8 p.m. Central. Join us for that. Darrell and Jeremiah, don't hang up. Hang on a second, and we're going to call it an end. And Merry Christmas to everybody.
If we don't see you tomorrow,
See you tomorrow.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas to you and your families. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.